Oh, and the record button on the audio board, too, would be helpful. All right. Here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the WTH podcast. Thank you so much for joining us, wherever you might be, however you might be watching or listening, or if you're Kareem and you've bailed on the show immediately.
I'm out.
He's out. I looked away for a second, and I looked back at the monitor, and Kareem was gone. I'm not going to take it personally. I mean, I could, but I'm not gonna.
Maybe you should.
Maybe I should change the background there so we don't cut off our logo. I was going to introduce Kareem, but I'll do that when he comes back. Jason, how are you doing?
I'm doing swell.
Excellent. Excellent. Well,
how are you doing?
You know, we'll get into that.
Ooh,
hey, there
okay.
he is. There's Kareem. Kareem, for leaving us like that, you get to be at the bottom this week. You lost your spot. That's Kareem, by the way. If you're watching, he's the one in the center on the bottom. Coming up on the show today, a history teacher explains the difference between conservatives and liberals in a simple, easy-to-understand way. Dan Crenshaw goes on the Sunday morning shows, and the Senate Republicans have lost millions of dollars out of their funds. Where did it go? I don't know. We'll explore who they put in charge and why that might have been a terrible, terrible idea. And why Idris Elba does not believe in nepotism. So, all of those things coming up on the show today. It's going to be chock full, chock full. If you're watching live, thanks for joining us. The reason we are live on a Tuesday instead of a Monday is yesterday my body, for lack of a better term, my body abandoned its better senses. And it became evident that it wasn't going to be a comfortable show if I did the show, because periodically my body would go, "You need to go to the bathroom right now." Mm-hmm. And it was unpredictable. When it started, I'm like, this will pass. By 4:30, it had been going on. No, it hadn't. It had been going on for about 4 hours at that point, and that was when I made the call to be like, you know what, maybe we'll try tomorrow, because...
Well, I didn't finish, and it passed, and then it passed, and then it passed, and it passed, and it passed,
and it came back around again.
And it passed.
It passed go. It collected $200. It did
just kept passing.
Oh, man. Yep.
It's like circular breathing, but with your butthole.
Imagine every so often you get a really bad cramp and you had to pass a little pile of gravel. That's just, without going into too much detail, if I haven't already. That's
hey.
So it wasn't like the explosive diarrhea, but it was not fun.
So it was like boulders out of your butthole. Was that what you're saying?
No, it was more like those little driveway stones. You know, just little tiny stones. It was not much of it. It wasn't much of anything, but
I've shat those out. It's not so bad.
Everybody has. If you're a human being, you have. My wife came home and she said, "Oh," she gave me the solution, which is the solution she has for everything. "How much water have you drank today?" To her, drinking water is like Tussin is to Chris Rock's family. For them, it was rub Tussin on it. For my wife, it's you should drink some more water. Yes. Not that drinking more water is going to be bad for me, unless I'm trying to win a Wii. And no one's done that for quite some time. Too soon? Too soon for the Wii joke?
Too soon.
Because it happened in Sacramento?
Didn't somebody die? Somebody died,
yes.
didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
For a radio contest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm saying last time it's
a very long time ago. It was like 15 years ago at this point.
Yeah. But it pretty much essentially stopped those types of things.
Yes, it absolutely did. That and Janet Jackson's tit had the biggest impact on radio of any two things. That woman in Sacramento dying of water intoxication and Janet Jackson's boob. are the two things that have made radio what they are today. So there you
Well,
go.
how much water did you drink? I don't know, about 5-6 gallons.
Well, and it wasn't just the drinking it; it was the not going to the bathroom. 'Cause it was
The
the
whole
hold your
thing.
wee for a wee contest, and that actually happened before I moved to Sacramento. So that would have been more than 15 years ago. Because I remember I was doing
Yeah.
something with the local hospital in Plattsburgh, New York, and they had a case where they didn't know what to do because somebody had dropped this college kid off, because it's a college town. Someone dropped this college kid off at the entrance to the ER, and the staff would press on them and like water would come out of their skin, and they didn't
Oh my
really know
gosh.
what was up. So basically there was this whole thing that happened to tell people that don't just drop somebody off at the ER. Someone needs to stick around and say, "Hey, this person drank a ton of water," because it would have saved them. I mean, this person ended up being okay, but it would have saved at least 45 minutes of the medical staff trying to guess what the problem was and deal with it and figure it out. And that could have been the difference between life and death. So, sororities, radio stations, fraternities, all the same thing. Anyway, Kareem, what do you want to talk about?
Oh God, darn it! I was hoping I was going to be able to do something light this week, but the fucking Republican Party is not allowing that to happen. And I don't think that this particular thing is getting enough attention. So, what's her name? The Kraken that
Sidney Powell.
Sidney Powell decided that she would appoint herself as the person to verify the voter machines across the country after the election. So she hired a tech company, and they went to 4 or 5 states and went to some rural counties and had their election officials give them the voting machines, or the pretty much the guts of the voting machines.
That's right.
So they have all of the information for the voters from those cities or towns, and they have the inner workings of the Dominion voting machines.
Yeah, they have a lot of things that it's not okay that they have.
Right. So there's been somebody indicted in Michigan already, and then there are going to be some more people that are going to be going to jail for this. But this is the type of shit that they were doing outside of January 6th that we're not talking about enough, because dumbass decided to take the CIA, take top secret information to his country club. And if
super top secret.
Yes, and if he does not go to prison for this, everybody in the government needs to go to jail.
Everybody?
Everybody,
Because
this is not okay.
No,
Yes.
it's not. There are people in the history of this country that have been executed for less than this.
Yes.
So when Lindsey Graham is talking about how Donald Trump, he literally said Donald Trump was too old to go to jail, to which I say age is just a number, and prison then for him.
Yes.
problem
Send his
solved.
ass to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Yeah. There's a lot of so much crazy shit comes out every week that it's hard to really wrangle it all and go, oh yeah, that came out this week. It feels like it came out a month ago when it's like, it's not good.
It's just all the crazy shit that they did,
Mm-hmm.
and all of these,
Go on.
and all of these stupid ass people. Like, you are the gatekeeper for the election system. So you know who votes and who doesn't vote in your county. and you let them convince you that the shit was stolen, and you know what the fuck goes on.
Yep. Yep.
I don't
is.
even understand that.
No, I don't get it either. But if, and this isn't an excuse, but if they showed up there and said, we're here on behalf of President Trump and he sent us to do X, Y, and Z, it would be easy to understand why a local election official might be like, oh, well, yeah, here you go. Everything's on the up and up. So big deal.
Yeah. And in one case, a fucking judge signed off on it. And that person needs to be taken off the bench, disbarred, and stuck in jail next to Donald Trump.
It's going to be an interesting next couple of months to see what happens with that for sure. Absolutely. Jason, are your lips properly moisturized now? People got to see Jason put on some lip balm.
It sucks, man.
Looking all pouty.
It's true.
No, it sucks. That Accutane like dries my lips out. I have this.
My lips are real bad.
Yeah. Gosh.
I so rarely get to actually use a Napoleon Dynamite quote in context properly, but there you go.
I have kids that aren't listening right now.
What? So what would you like to talk about, Jason?
Oh man, I don't know. Kids that don't listen, how you want to like just like blah.
Yeah. Yeah. I get you.
No, I guess this would probably be the best place to talk about it. Is just like, you know, oh man, I don't know. I was gonna talk about something, and then I just thought about it a second time, and I was like, it might be a little too close, and I might be a little too close to it still.
Well, then give it some space to breathe.
Instead, so I'll switch to something else. So in a rare instance, my father called me up for advice and listened to me, and had a good outcome. So somebody came in. So while I was there, while I was visiting him for a couple of days, Linda, his wife, my stepmom, noticed that their garbage disposal was making a weird noise. Like it had pretty much like dissolved away in the center from rust because, you know, you have to have salt. You have to have salt for the water.
They've got hard water.
Yeah, they have hard water. Yeah. So anyhow, called up their home warranty to come replace it, right? So I left, and they came and did that yesterday. They replaced it yesterday. Well, they did a load of dishes, and all of a sudden there was a huge flood in the house because they ran a whole load of dishes while they were out. My dad has this thing that lets you know when water is too deep in the house, or there's been a water, like there's a flooding in the house, and it was going off while they were out. They got back, it was everywhere. They thought that they got up all the water. They didn't get it up, and he was really upset about the whole situation because they know that it's the people that installed it didn't hook the garbage, the washer, the dishwasher return into the
drain,
drain.
The garbage disposal.
On the disposal,
yeah. So because you have to do that, right? So anyhow, hold on a second.
Jason dealing with some personal issues there at home right now. If you're listening, someone has clearly come up to him who also needs his advice, and he's giving it to them in a very stern sort of manner. At one point, he actually or husbandly, we don't know.
Yes.
At one point, he put his hand up over the camera in case that individual made their way back around into camera view. They did not, so we don't know if it is child or spouse or.
Christine and the kids are about the same size.
could be family friend. Could be neighborhood vagabond.
It was Alma who, like, just as I was starting to tell my story, like started like pushing on me and, like, you know, anyhow. So he calls me up today and says, "Hey, I called Progressive and they're sending somebody out to take a look at it, a drying company to come out and take care of the issue." And I was like, "Well, did you call the company yet and talk to them because of this claim?" And he's like, "No, I haven't called them. I thought I'd wait for them to come out and look at it." It's like, well, I would call them first before you let anybody in the house to look at anything from the insurance company.
Yes.
Before you let anybody look at anything, call up the person that caused the loss because it's a small business owner locally and ask them or tell them as if you're doing a favor. Do it like, "Hey, this happened. It looks like, there's some water damage here." And I told him the whole story, pretty much just like, be nice. Tell him what happened, so you want to make sure it doesn't happen to somebody else. And, you're wondering if he has any dryers or anything like that to help dry things out. Like, not looking for anything, but to have a whole idea what the story is. Because hopefully you don't have to say everything, that as soon as you say it, if it's a good owner, he's going to be like, "I'm so sorry. Somebody's going to be out right away to take care of this and, help you out with this, whatnot." Because my dad also he wants to put in a sink outside. So he needs a plumber right now, too. So it's like, you need to be as nice to this guy as you can right now, and you're going to get a deal on this other thing that you need done because you're saving him money and pain and everything all together. So anyhow, he called up the guy. He called up the company. They had somebody out there within 30 minutes, pulled everything away. It seemed like got everything dried. Everything looked like it was fine. He asked him about doing the job to put in the sink outside, $300. Which is not very much to put to go through a wall and put in, drainage and stuff like that. He's like, "No, so thanks, son. You gave me some good advice. It really worked out. So just want to let you know." So
well, that's wonderful news.
Yeah,
Cool,
so,
man.
That felt
Bridges
good.
Bridges were built this weekend.
I mean, for the most part.
We went up to Reading this past weekend, and we were there. We were going to stay until we got there Friday evening. We were going to stay until midday on Sunday and come back. Get up Sunday morning. I go to the bathroom. It's like 6 something. I'm like, maybe I should get in the shower. And I'm like, no, the kids aren't up yet. I'm going to go back to bed for a little bit. I get up a couple minutes after 7. Leslie has gotten up with Sam. And she goes, "Hey, what's wrong with the TV?" And I said, "I don't know what's wrong with the TV. Let me come look." So I grabbed the remote, pointed at the TV like she had done. It did not turn on. And then I turned and looked at the lamp, and I reached over and turned that on, and it did not come on. And I said, "Well, your problem is there's no power here." So they had a planned power outage, PG&E, by the way, that they did not tell anybody about. And when we went on their website to find out what was up, we found out that it was in fact a planned outage from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. on a day when it was supposed to be 109.
Holy shit, Batman.
Mm-hmm. Well, apparently, so we packed up the kids and we're out of there by 9 a.m. We're home by noon. Apparently the outage only lasted until 1, but it was something they had to do with the infrastructure that was going to affect the school that was near there, and so that's why they had to do it on the weekend. The real issue is they didn't tell anybody. So that was that was it. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is I have a bone to pick with Doug Mastriano. And if you don't know who Doug Mastriano is, he is running for governor of Pennsylvania. He is the Republican. And he has brought Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, into Pennsylvania to campaign with him.
Stay out of Pennsylvania.
Well, take a listen to this.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. We heard from him and his team a couple weeks ago asking if we'd be interested in doing a rally in Pittsburgh. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Heck yes, because my goal as governor of Pennsylvania is make Pennsylvania the Florida of the North, because he set the gold standard for the good a governor can do leading a state.
Listen, asshole, I dubbed Ohio the Florida of the North years ago on this podcast. You don't get to claim it from them until your state does enough crazy shit to get there. Now, I agree that electing you and maybe Dr. Oz is going to put it in that right direction, but we want to be the Florida of the North should be the first thing that you think about when you go, I don't want to vote for this guy.
Yes. Stay the fuck out of Pittsburgh.
Oh, no, he was in Pittsburgh.
We
And
don't
then he
need
went to
those
Ohio for
problems.
another rally. He went to Ohio for another rally. He is angling to be the Republican nominee in 2024. Ron DeSantis is looking to increase his national profile. So that's why he's reaching out to all of these people. Reached out to Doug Mastriano. He reached out to J.D. Vance in Ohio. And that's what he's doing. He's holding rallies. Sound familiar?
Yep.
So that's what's happening. That's what I want to talk about. Ohio is the Florida of the North. That's not going to change. Fuck you, Doug. Fuck you. You can go back 6, 8, 10 years on this podcast, and you will hear me referring to Ohio as the Florida of the North, and you know it's true. Anyway. So, you know Rudy Giuliani, president's lawyer, former
Yes.
former lawyer. He went on the Rob Schmidt shit. I'm sorry, Rob Schmidt Tonight.
Who's this? Who's this?
Rob Schmidt?
No, the other guy.
Rudy Giuliani.
Wait, who?
Rudy.
Oh,
Rudy.
like the Hobbit guy.
Rudolfo.
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong, but this is on Newsmax. Doesn't he actually admit to the crime?
And now they want to make him responsible for having taken classified documents and preserved them. Really, if you look at the Espionage Act, it's not really about taking the documents. It's about destroying them or hiding them or giving them to the enemy.
Right.
It's not about taking them and putting them in a place that's roughly as safe as they were in the first place.
Okay.
Again, Mar-a-Lago is not anywhere near as safe as where they were.
No. No, the White House is more secure than your country club.
Yes. Because there are umpteen levels of security and that you have to go through in order to get to those documents. Matter of fact, there are probably only 50 people in the entire world who could get to most of those documents. And 50 is a high number. So the fact that you think that they're safer in Mar-a-Lago, where there's already been a Chinese lady that was arrested for espionage with all of the spy equipment in her possession,
right?
You're a fucking idiot.
Well, not to mention the guy that was on The Bachelor talking about how he went to Mar-a-Lago and pretty much wandered all around the place, and Secret Service didn't really seem to care that he was moseying all about with, pretty much full impunity. No one stopping him going wherever he wanted to. And these things, some of them were in his safe. Others were in a closet. Others were just in a box. I mean, they were not secure.
Dude.
But that's beside the point. That's not even the point here.
Yeah.
The point here is you don't have any right to take them. They're not yours. You stole documents that belong to the American people that are classified. And now he's trying to, in his court filing, which he's still trying to exert executive privilege when he's not the executive anymore. You don't get executive privilege when you're not the executive.
Yeah. It's like, dude, no, your security clearance was rescinded when you got out.
It's for life.
No, it's not for life.
It's for life.
It is not for life.
It's for life.
Not for life.
I'm President King Trump.
And Joe Biden took the extraordinary measure of making sure that Trump did not get the intelligence briefings, whereas most of the other former presidents would get intelligence briefings. So,
and he didn't listen to him in the first place when he was getting them, when he was supposed to know what was going on.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly why I wasn't asked to be part of them. I guarantee you that if you've been going to like,
Yeah, that was part of it. But
That
yeah,
dude has told everybody that he thinks he can get something from at least part of what's in those documents.
of course, this is all part of the big grift, and it's weird that the Saudis just randomly decided to hold their golf tournament at his Bedminster Country Club.
Yeah.
And they gave Jared Kushner like $3 billion. Like, why would you do that?
Oh, and so he actually gave them the nuclear technology while he was president, or some of it, and in which they used China to build the equipment that they were going to get. Yeah.
It's been a very weird time.
Yes.
All right. So on Twitter, there's
Twitter.
this young lady with a "Make America Great Again" bucket hat, African American lady. She tweeted, "I will not hide any longer. The left has made us feel as if us black Republicans should hide, but not anymore. Hashtag blacks for Trump. Hashtag walk away. Hashtag MAGA." Let's see. A little bit later, she tweets, "Thank you all so much for your overwhelming support. After seeing this tweet, my parents cut me off and refused to pay my university tuition. So if you can find it in your hearts to help this young black Republican pay for school, it would be appreciated." And then there's a GoFundMe link. Now, granted, this comes from a while ago. I sent this to Kareem, and he said I was going to run that scam too. So, is it a scam, or is this a true believer who has been wronged by the left?
She has figured it out. She's like, everybody's running game. I'm going to run this game and get me some of this money.
Yeah, there's a lot of people running the game. A lot of rubes with that don't have it. I mean, that's essentially what preachers at mega churches do. They run game on people who can't afford to, and they have mega churches with private airplanes. I mean, God, the 700 Club was the 700 Club because to be a member, you had to give $700. And you had these people who didn't have two nickels to rub together that went out and essentially went without so they could send money to these preachers. And it's just irritating that people are allowed to do that to other people. I get it if you're somebody who is in a situation where you're like, I love God, God is good, it's what you believe in your heart, and then you believe this preacher that if I just sacrifice this, then that's going to do good. I feel for those people because I don't know that they know better. And the people who do that to them should really face much more serious consequences than they ever do. Even the ones who do end up going to jail. Because, let's face it, they like to call white-collar crime. And then they go, oh, it's white-collar crime. It's not that. There's no violent victim. But if you're somebody who doesn't have any money and you're conned out of what little you have that you can barely get by on, that then forces you to make decisions about, do I buy food? Do I buy medicine? Do I pay my rent? Do I end up getting evicted because of this? Lives are more lives have been destroyed by white-collar criminals than violent offenders. It's easier to go, oh, well, it wasn't violent.
Yeah.
So it's not that big a deal. But the devastating impact that it has is oftentimes much, much more intense over the long term in kind of how it goes. And we treat the people who do these white collar crimes in a much different manner than somebody who goes out and says, I'm going to steal some money, so I'm going to hold somebody up at the ATM.
See, Bernie Madoff. How many lives did he ruin?
Well, he also died in prison. So,
yeah.
I mean, but yeah, over the course of a very long period of time, he ruined a lot of lives. And there are so many people that you will never hear about that pull this white collar crime bullshit. You know, maybe there's someone who was president of the United States once and keeps sending out emails saying that only you can help fight this voter fraud that's been perpetrated upon me and our great country. And so these people donate money. Sometimes they think they're giving once, but really they've inadvertently not unticked a box and have agreed to give that $200 every week.
Yeah.
By the way, that was the thing. People who donated to the Trump campaign, there was a checkbox that you had to untick, or it would be automatically a recurring donation. So if you did a donation from your checking account, as a lot of people do, they go, okay, well, I'll do this. I'll give them, $20, $40, whatever it is. They come back and suddenly they don't have money for anything. If it's your credit card, at least you can contest it.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody who doesn't have a credit card, you just have a bank account, and you're just going by that. I mean, and the worst part is it's not illegal.
Yeah.
It's dubious, but it's not illegal. And
the really sad thing is that they thought that it was okay to do it to the people that were supporting them.
It's okay to do it to those people because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
They look down on the people who support them and don't think that they know better. They don't think they deserve better, which leads us perfectly to a history teacher of 40 years explaining in the simplest possible terms the difference between conservatives and liberals. This is going to take about 3 minutes.
I was a teacher for 40 years. I taught a lot of history and government, U.S. history and government. And I found myself challenged by some classes to bring down the explanation of a concept to the lowest possible level so that everybody in the class could understand before we moved forward. I want to do the same thing right here, right now. I live in a very conservative state that can't get the difference between liberals and conservatives. And I'm surrounded by people that need the lowest possible denominator. They need the simplest explanation, and I'm going to call on someone who I consider one of our foremost social philosophers, George Carlin, for his explanation. Conservatives care about profit. They care about property. Liberals care about people. They want to see the benefit to society. Am I being harsh? No, let's look at present situations. Our Republican administration here in Arizona sold vast tracts of Arizona land to the Saudis, including the water rights in the aquifer that's Arizona's emergency water supply, sold to the Saudis, owned by the Saudis. Now, we're in a 1,200-year drought. When the water from the Colorado dries up, the Saudis will be happy to sell us water, our own water, back at a huge profit to them. We sold our future, we sold our children's future for immediate profit. Conservatives. In Texas, the largest refineries are now owned by the Saudis. Port Arthur, the refinery, owned by the Saudis. They'll have complete control over it. Our future again sold. Our children's future again sold. They don't care about people. They care about profits. Insulin. And this one goes to my heart because I have a daughter who's a diabetic, and she's a nurse, and she pays $1,000 every 2 months for her insulin supplies. That's because the pharmaceutical companies are being allowed by conservatives, Republicans, to gouge the heck out of people. The person who invented insulin was a liberal, and he sold the rights to insulin to the public for $1. That's a liberal. So you have to make up your mind. What do you want? People or profits? And when the water gets sold out from underneath you and you can't afford medical care and you voted Republican, then have the day you deserve.
There you go.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't realize that they had sold the water in Arizona for profit.
Nor did I, nor the refineries in Texas. The America First people sold the refineries in Texas. Texas, America First. So first that when people come across the border, their governor is now paying $1,400 a person to bust those illegal immigrants, I put in quotes, to New York City to try and fuck with New York City.
Another grift.
Right? It's another grift. And then the conservatives in New York complain, well, all of these illegal immigrants that get to New York, we're paying to put them up in hotels while homeless veterans are on the streets.
Yeah.
One doesn't have anything to do with the other.
No.
And that's the real
Somebody
grift
needs
is-
to dump him out of his wheelchair.
Well, Beto O'Rourke may come, metaphorically speaking, of course,
Yes.
come November. We'll see how that goes. But things are looking up for Beto O'Rourke in his campaign to be governor of Texas. So we will see how that goes. Meanwhile, speaking of Texas, Dan Crenshaw, Republican of Texas, went on CNN on Sunday morning.
Let's start with the fact that you're a former Navy SEAL. You have depended on the intelligence community in very real, tangible ways to protect your life and those of your brothers. As someone who understands just how precious intelligence can be, I'm wondering if it bothers you that there was apparently classified information in an unsecured location at Mar-a-Lago. We know that one box was labeled TSSCI, that's top secret, sensitive, compartmented information.
Yeah. Well, look, you know me, Jake, and I'm not one to withhold criticism and even make my own side mad. I want to get to the truth, but I will be
Okay, let's see how that goes.
honest with you here. It's hard to justify what the Department of Justice did here, in my opinion. And here's why. Here's what it really boils down to. It's not a question that it's bad to have classified material in a non-SCIF environment, right? So that's a non-secret compartmentalized infrastructure there. That's wrong. But there's ways to mitigate that. There's ways to resolve that issue. And I still haven't seen any evidence that that Trump was even asked to give these documents back. He's been cooperating with them.
Bullshit. He was asked, and a subpoena was then given that was signed off on by his lawyer that said, oh, yeah, we turned over everything.
There
had not.
There is no excuse for those documents to be outside of the SCIF.
I'm not one to withhold criticism. But then he immediately goes into justification for it, and but what the DOJ did was bad too. No, what the DOJ did, it did because of that.
He needs to be treated like Daryl Hannah in Kill Bill 2.
Dan Crenshaw does, or Trump?
Dan Crenshaw does.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what that is, Jason?
Do I know what is?
What happened to her in Kill Bill 2?
Yeah. What?
Kareem, why don't you explain it to our listeners who might not have seen Kill Bill 2?
Well, I can't remember which one she was. I mean, I know who she was, but
She was one of the killers.
right. No, I know. No, she was the nurse. She was a nurse with one eye.
Right.
Yeah.
So you know what happened in Kill Bill 2?
What happened in part 2?
She lost the second eye. And it got stepped on.
Yeah, it was a rough time.
Yes.
It was a very, very rough time.
Yeah, that's why I keep having it on mute. I keep saying things and then realizing I'm on mute because
because Jason
Oh,
has
that's
a new
right.
dog.
You got the puppy.
So we mentioned this in the intro. Republicans are now demanding to know what happened to vanishing GOP millions. If they were a corporation, the CEO would be fired. That's what a GOP consultant said of the National Republican Senatorial Committee. This was from the Washington Post. A number of Republican strategists and consultants are growing increasingly dismayed about the millions of dollars vanishing at the National Republican Senatorial Committee just when the funds are needed most. We're leading into an election time. Cash at the National Campaign Fund is dwindling as candidates head into the final stretch of the Senate races. If they were a corporation, the CEO would be fired. We've said that before. There needs to be an audit or an investigation because we're not going to take the Senate now, and this money has been squandered, added the consultant. Here's the deal. Florida Senator Rick Scott, who chairs the NRSC, has been attacked by other Republicans for featuring himself in ads and releasing a policy agenda that caused trouble for the GOP, leading to quips that NRSC stands for National Rick Scott Committee. The funds reportedly reached $173 million this election cycle, but were already down to $28.4 million by the end of June. The committee spent more than $12 million on American Express credit card payments with an unclear purpose, along with $13 million for consultants and $9 million on debt payments. Now, a number of Republican candidates are struggling to raise money ahead of the general elections. It's surprising, and it says a lot about the Republican brand that their candidates have struggled to raise money. That's from the president of the Democratic Allied Senate Majority PAC. With extreme candidates and extreme positions, maybe Republican donors are finding these candidates are out of step with where they are, and maybe voters are feeling the same way. Or hear me out on this, maybe Rick Scott shouldn't be trusted with money, especially other people's money.
That's where they should have started with. I don't know who the fuck thought it was a good idea to put him in charge of money, considering his criminal history.
That is absolutely 100% correct.
The fuck is wrong with y'all?
They just don't know.
Robbed the bank. I'm going to let him be in charge of the cash box. What the fuck is wrong with you? He stole the Girl Scout cookie money. We're going to put him in charge of the fundraising.
Yeah. You can go ahead and Google Rick Scott and see what you get there.
He stole from his grandma piggy bank, and we're going to put him in charge. The fuck is wrong with y'all?
Well, they're getting what they should have gotten. All right, let me see where we are the show. Okay, let's talk about this really quickly. There was a showed up on video over the weekend. 3 cops in Arkansas beating a homeless man. There were 3 cops on one dude. The 3 sheriff's deputies have been benched after a video showed them wailing on a homeless man with alleged mental health issues. The Crawford County Sheriff's Department confirms 2 of the men in uniform seen there are their own deputies. The 3rd officer belongs to the Mulberry Police Department. They were all teaming up Sunday on a young man, kneeing him, slamming his head on the concrete, and punching him in the face in order to restrain him. The beating happened just outside the Country, with a K, by the way, Express, with an X, gas station, where the cops responded to a call for threats made to one of the clerks inside, allegedly made by the man getting detained. Now, reports say the man was cooperative at first, but then things went south. One report says the man allegedly tried to attack an officer, which is what apparently led to the beatdown. Regardless of what happened in the lead up, the force shown by officers is extreme, and at one point the officers notice they're being filmed and yell at bystanders to get lost. Well, that'll work. The Arkansas State Police is currently investigating. 2 of the officers have been suspended and another placed on administrative leave. This looked really bad.
It was really bad.
It was really bad. He was unarmed. You know what happened. This happens in a lot of these cases. They show up to deal with somebody who has mental issues. They may not have the proper training to deal with somebody who has mental issues. Said person then does something that people with mental issues does and attacks the cops, and it pisses them off. Maybe one of them gets hit. Maybe something like that happens. It's not okay.
Actually, one of the reports I read was that he tried to run away first.
Well, then if
unmute yourself, Jason.
If he said stop and didn't listen, then that's another thing. Jason.
Yeah, that's no. The cops say that I think one of the cops may said that he tried to hurt them or something like that, but then a witness said that he got up, was running away, wasn't trying to.
Well, yeah, there were 3 dudes trying to beat him up. Of course, he's trying to run away.
Yeah.
Well, if you see what he's trying to do, he's not trying to do anything except cover his face.
Cover yourself. Yeah.
Right. If
In the fetal
if-
position.
If someone's kneeing you in the ribs, you're going to try and put your hands there to stop that.
You know, I don't have much faith in their word about anything.
Yeah.
I watched a video yesterday of them arresting a pastor for watering his neighbor's flowers, and they walked up and asked him what he was doing, and he was like, "I'm watering flowers. I'm Pastor such and such. I live across the road. My neighbors went out of town. They asked me to water flowers." Well, show me your ID. I don't have to show you my ID. And then later on, they came back and said, "Well, he's like, well, how do we know that this is what you're doing?" He's like, "What the fuck do you mean? How do you know? I'm standing here with the water hose in my hand."
Right.
Like, he didn't run to grab the water hose because he saw you. You drove up and he was watering the fucking flowers.
Yeah.
Like, use some common sense in this shit. Like, you see the guy, you know he's obviously mentally impaired.
Well, and
If you can't do it, then get somebody fucking there that can do it.
Well, and this is why, and it was horribly named. This is why the defund the police thing came up. It was like, look, let's take the funds that we're throwing into all of these police departments, getting armored vehicles and all of this weaponry, and maybe let's put some of it into dealing with people who can handle somebody like this in a counselor sort of manner. And of course, the reaction is always like, well, when someone goes breaking into your house, you want the counselor to show up? And it's like, if someone comes breaking into my house, when do you think the cops are going to show up?
Yeah.
They're going to show up long after the person is gone, unless there's some weird coincidence.
And then
that's
probably
just how it works.
And then they're probably not going to do fingerprints or anything. They're just going to take your statement. If you don't have no fucking video of what happened, they're probably not going to do anything to remedy your situation, period.
They might sit outside your house until the locksmith shows up and changes your locks. Or, you know what I mean? Like, they're not doing anything overt, though.
Yeah.
No, very, very unlikely. And so the idea that, oh, well, you want... This is a situation that didn't have to happen. It didn't have to happen. And this stuff happens all over the country every day because cops are put in a position that they should not be put into. It's not fair to them.
It happened in Dublin. It happened in Dublin where I grew up, like 7 years ago. A white homeless guy was killed by the cops. Somebody that like everybody had seen around, like wasn't necessarily known as a violent, unhoused person.
Yeah, but people have episodes. People are on drugs at a certain point. People have
but I guess what I'm saying is like he was known it wasn't like some unknown person like it was somebody that he was known in the neighborhood around areas. Cops already knew him. Like people knew who he was. It wasn't some like they knew how to take care of it or handle it if they wanted. You know what I mean? Like they should have been responding.
Yeah. All right. On to other things. I know this won't matter to the people who are calling for Dr. Fauci to be investigated, but a newly updated COVID booster shot target the Omicron BA.5 subvariant should be available within the next 3 weeks. So who's eligible to get them? The short answer is anyone ages 12 and up who's had completed a primary vaccination series. That's according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. It's unlikely to matter whether you've received any other booster doses or not before, but if you're unvaccinated, you will not be eligible for the updated COVID formula until you complete a primary series with the existing COVID vaccine. So you can't just be like, I'm not getting a shot, and then go, oh, there's one for the Omicron, give me that. No.
Yeah.
No, you need to get your others first, and then you can get that. So the Pfizer bivalent shot, or bivalent, which targets both the original COVID and Omicron, is expected to be authorized first. CDC says it's likely to come with a wide eligibility swath, the full group of vaccinated Americans ages 12 and up. So we're a Pfizer house. Everybody here has had Pfizer, so we'll probably continue with that. So, in case you're wondering, it's coming. That's when it's going to be here. La la la, la la la. I also heard that at UC Berkeley, they're working on a nasal spray that will actually prevent you from getting it, which is crazy and wonderful news. So hopefully that comes our way soon.
What if you're a mouth breather?
Well, then you get the Banaka version. They even make that still? Banaka
They make
glass.
something like it.
We are old.
Yeah.
Mentioned it earlier. Idris Elba, not a fan of nepotism, said his own kid auditioned to play the role of his on-screen daughter in his latest movie, Beast. She did not get it. He was recently on The Breakfast Club with producer Will Packer plugging their new flick, which just hit theaters. During the convo, Idris revealed that his 20-year-old Isan actually read for the part, one of the two daughters featured in the film. He says she didn't end up getting it because the chemistry just wasn't right, and as a result, she didn't talk to her dad for about 3 weeks. She did show up to the premiere though and actually posed with him. So apparently it's all in the past now. He didn't make it happen just because it was his daughter. So that's getting him some kudos in the film community. But he did the dad thing. Said, look, you got to go through the whole process that everybody else is and get judged on your merit. And ultimately, that's probably going to serve her much better in the end than getting a part in this movie.
Yes. She don't want to be one of those chicks that got a part and you be like, whose dick did she suck to get in this movie?
Well, or what was that? What was that terrible movie that Will Smith did with his kid?
I Am Legend.
Pursuit of Happiness.
No, it wasn't that one. It was the apocalyptic movie.
Yeah, it was something. So again, not memorable. And yeah. So, anywho, being Idris Elba's kid, not necessarily super helpful for you if you want to get ahead. So sorry about that. Let me see. All right. Sorry. Meanwhile, incensed that his pizza did not include the requested toppings, a Maryland man allegedly assaulted a Papa John's worker with a metal pizza paddle in an attack that ended with the employee stabbing the customer in the stomach with a pizza spear. I don't know what a pizza spear is. Right? I believe the pizza paddle is known as a pizza peel.
Yeah, and the spear is the one that they use to poke the holes in the dough that rise.
Investigators say that after purchasing the pizza Wednesday, Herbert Harris, who's 40, returned to the Papa John's to complain the garlic sauce and pepperoncinis were not included in the pizza. Ooh. He then argued about the missing Italian peppers and garlic sauce with Robert Klein, a 26-year-old employee. During the dispute, Harris went behind the counter and began chasing Klein around the store, physically assaulting him with a metal pizza paddle. Unable to escape the physical assault and in fear for his safety, he grabbed a pizza spear to defend himself from the attack and stabbed Harris in self-defense. The spear is not further described in the police statement. When cops arrived, Harris, who lives 2 miles from the restaurant, was holding a T-shirt to a stab wound in his stomach. He was subsequently transported to a local hospital for treatment of non-life-threatening injuries. And he got a charge of misdemeanor assault scheduled for September 20th District Court appearance.
Stay your ass from behind the counter.
Right. What do you think you're going to get out of that? What's your plan? You know what? I'm going to go down there and give him a piece of my mind, and then I'm going to go ahead and whoop him. I'm going to whoop him and teach him a lesson.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're not. It's a terrible.
People are crazy, man. People choose the weirdest shit to get fucking
wound up about.
Yeah,
I mean,
just like.
I get it.
I know. I get it.
Getting upset about it. I don't get going back and threatening.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's like the carrying through of like with your deep, dark, twisted fantasy.
Yeah. I'm trying not to beat somebody with road rage for making illegal U-turns in front of me.
No, yeah, I saw that post. Saw that post. Sometimes you gotta flip a bitch, Kareem.
Like, Good
You gotta flip
God.
it, bitch. You flip it.
She almost got flipped over.
You gotta flip it. You gotta flip it.
Well,
Flip it.
sometimes that has to happen. All right, now Doug Mastriano. Remember, there's only one state that is the
Florida.
of the North, and that is Ohio, where a couple had sex inside a Ferris wheel cabin in full view of a quartet of young amusement park visitors. That's according to the Ohio cops who busted the duo for public indecency. Investigators allege that David Davis and Heather Johnson, both 32, that's old enough to know better,
Yes.
were observed having sexual intercourse around 8:30 p.m. Sunday while riding the Wonder Wheel at Cedar Point Park in Sandusky. As detailed in the Sandusky Police Department report, 4 female witnesses who were riding in the cabin above Davis and Johnson recounted seeing the duo having sex. The witnesses, 2 juveniles and a pair of 18-year-olds, all stated they saw the woman's bare butt and man's penis. That's right, the man's penis. In addition to observing Davis and Johnson and the Johnson, the witnesses said they could feel the cart shaking and see both the male and female moving back and forth. That's right, that's how sex works, kids. One of the minors said she saw the woman on her hands and knees and saw the man behind her. The witnesses said that Davis and Johnson knew they were being watched and started laughing and continued the behavior. One of the juveniles told police she was very shaken up about what she witnessed and that this was very traumatizing for her. And when confronted by cops, I mean, that is not what you were expecting on the Ferris wheel. When confronted by cops, Davis initially denied having sex on the Wonder Wheel, claiming Johnston might have shaken her ass a little for him when she bent over, and that was it. But Davis and Johnson, police said, subsequently did admit they were engaged in sexual intercourse on the amusement ride. Both said they did not know that the 2 of the witnesses were juveniles. They were arrested for public indecency, booked into the Erie County Jail, which they were later released from on $3,000 bond. Since 2 of the witnesses are minors, the charge was enhanced misdemeanor of the 1st degree, which sounds like a charge that you would only get in the
Florida
of the North, Ohio. Fuck you, Doug. You ain't getting the title. I'm not letting it go that easily. Ha-ha. It's not gonna Say, I will fight that guy. I will fight him with a pizza paddle.
I'll put my fist in his mouth.
You might want to use a spear.
That's a category. All right. So finally, before we wrap things up, doctors might tell you that eating fast food will take years off your life. For some Californians, that is a trade-off that they would take. According to a study from Drug Genius, and everyone gets their studies from Drug Genius, the average Californian would give up 5 years off their life to continue eating fast food. That number comes from a 3,222 person survey in which participants were asked hypothetically how many years they would give up to continue eating unhealthily. I wonder how young these people were. That's the rub.
Question, yeah.
Because you ask people who are in their teens and 20s, they're going to be like, there were some states that were willing to sacrifice more than 5 years. For instance, Kareem, in Montana, North Dakota, and Hawaii, of all places, the average response was 12 years.
Wow.
12. Can you
I
imagine?
would understand why you would give it up in Montana and Dakota, but Hawaii?
Right. The average answer across the country was 4 years, so California a little higher than average, which can be said about a lot of things. The study also showed that many Americans are not concerned with the health risks that come with eating fast food. Drug Genius reported that 51% of participants admitted that they ignore information about the health risks of fast food. In fact, 1 in 4 people thought moderate consumption of fast food had health benefits, according to the study. I thought it was good for me. Isn't it healthy? Doesn't it help me build up my storage of salt?
It has lettuce and tomatoes and pickles.
Got maters.
It's like a salad and a steak.
French fries are a tuber. Anyway, when asked which fast food items have health benefits, the most popular answer, submarine sandwiches. People also answered burritos, pizza, and even chicken wings. On the question of whether people would rather give up alcohol or fast food, 60% of participants said they would kiss booze goodbye, which I think is a low number.
Me too.
Right? They have an interactive map, so I don't. Let's see. Let's go to Kareem's home state of North Carolina. North Carolinians are prepared to forego 3 years of life in order to continue eating fast food. I would think that would be a higher number. What if it were barbecue? What if the answer were barbecue?
The answer was barbecue, then it would be 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Texas is 4 years. Let's see. New York. Let me get up to New York. 5 years. New York also 5 years. My home state of Vermont also 5 years. New Hampshire, 4 years. Maine, 2 years. Yeah. Just out of curiosity, Mississippi, only 2 years. People in Mississippi they're hanging on to what they got. They're like, nope. I would give it again. If the question were barbecue, I think the answer would be very different if you included that in the question. So there you go. So that's it. That's going to do it for this episode of the WTH podcast. Any final words, Jason?
Sometimes you just have to tell people that are racist to go fuck themselves.
You dick!
Kareem.
If the trunk of your car is attached to your car with duct tape, you should slow the fuck down.
What about bungee cords?
Slow the fuck down.
Dollar store bungee cords.
You should not drive above the posted speed limit if your car, your bumper, your trunk and your bumper is attached with anything
Other than the
way it was built.
Mm-hmm. All right. I just have this one thing from my daughter.
Hi.
She's not here. She's long in bed, but I have this recording. Yeah. Yeah. She loves coming up and touching the audio board with her dirty little fingers. It's like, get out of here with that. She wanted to eat over it earlier, and I was like, get the hell out of here. Out of here.
Yeah, my daughter had taffy the other day, and then immediately then picked up my controller. I was very upset. It was very bad times.
Yeah, we're not doing that shit.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us for this episode of the WTH podcast. Hey, quick announcement. We will be off for the next 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Okay.
Next week, we will be, I'll tell you about it in a couple weeks, what's going to be happening next week. And then, of course, Labor Day. Labor Day. So, taking a couple weeks off, wrapping up the summertime with what's we got to do. Jason and I maybe at the Railroad Museum on Friday.
Maybe.
Okay. Come and say hello. Say hello. You'll be where?
I'll be in a meeting about using scents for marketing.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah. Sounds about right. Sounds about even. What were you gonna say, Jason?
I was just gonna say, if they lead off with telling you about Disneyland piping and home baked cookies over Main Street, tell them to get a new fucking shtick. Tell me something I don't know about it. Come on, motherfuckers.
Yeah, you tell them this.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, that's what you tell them. Just say.
Go fuck yourself. Say it again. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye.
All right.